back. Second time's a charm. Episode 29.
You
We
will never
recorded
see
this.
the lost episode of Exorcast.
We recorded this episode once.
That didn't have me on it.
Yeah.
There was no Chuck, and we had some audio issues, so we scrapped it.
Mm-hmm.
We waited a week and recorded because now Chuck's here. I don't know if that's better or worse, but he's here.
I was under the impression there wasn't no show that week.
And just to get it out of the way now, before we get any further, because we're not going to blast him for it or anything, because it's not his fault, Chuck can talk about the audio, because the audio technically exists, but it's issues in the background.
Yeah. They're all on the website.
Yeah.
They're just, hidden.
Yeah. So it's coming. It's coming.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yes.
First 18 episodes, I believe, are on there.
Okay. So, episode 29, again. And this is the Mortuary collection, Anthology, that is exclusively streaming on Shudder. And it is directed by Ryan Spindell and written by Ryan Spindell.
And one of the segments of it, which we'll come to later, is a short film that Ryan Spindell made first, thanks to, I think it was Dance Commander pointed that out, or Matt? No, sorry, Dance Commander or Dead Rat pointed that out to us.
One of the two.
One of the segments is a short film that he'd made first, and it was done really well, so he decided, fuck it, I'll make a whole bunch of other stuff, tack it on, and make a whole movie. And that's how you get your anthology films.
Well, which segment was that?
Babysitter.
The last one. Babysitter. Oh. If you look on his IMDb, you see a listing for Babysitter Murders specifically on its own. So, yeah.
I figured it had to be that one or the condom one.
So.
We both have the same reaction. Anyway. Yeah. All right, so. If we seem slightly dead inside, if we seem slightly dead inside at the moment, we've all had a rough couple weeks. We are recording this on November 11th, just to be clear of timeline where we're at here. And this is also the second time that W and I have discussed this movie. So, and haven't watched it in, 2-3 weeks?
It's been 3 to 4 weeks since I've seen it. So
yeah, same here.
And I'm fucking exhausted, so bear with me.
Yeah, you may be leading more of this discussion than you think you will.
Well, then Chuck, give us a synopsis.
You really want to do that?
So creepy guys running a mortuary house, okay?
Actually,
so this one young woman comes in there saying she's looking for a job. So they walk around the mortuary, and he tells her stories, and thus we have our anthology film. Basically.
That's actually, I mean, if you're going to give a generalized one, yeah.
Yeah. And our first one deals with the thief. Our second one deals with the condom. Our third one deals with somebody that's sick. And our fourth one deals with a babysitter. Am I missing one? Is that it? There's 4 of them?
And the wraparound, yeah.
There's the wraparound.
That is the worst, most accurate synopsis for this film there could ever possibly
be. You don't want to give too much away,
You can still explain a bit, though. You're right. You're accurate. You're correct. But you give no details.
Well, the wraparound's really good. I'll give it that much. I think it's really good.
Want to take another swing at it?
The problem is, well, what else is there to tell? I mean, okay, so this girl comes in there.
We can try if you want. I mean, it's up to you.
I mean, it's just like, I don't know, how much you want to give away before we just dive into each segment here. And
I mean, honestly, it's basically just this old creepy mortuary is in this town, and everybody stays away from it. This little kid even tries to deliver papers to it, but gets freaked out just from the idea of being there. In essence, morticians having a funeral. Fire, brimstone, etc. And it appears to be a funeral of I think it's explained that it's a small kid, teenager, small boy, something like that. Has a funeral, gets a little into it, freaks everybody out. Everybody files out, and when he goes to leave, there's a woman still there, a teenager, maybe 20 at most, young woman.
Teenager.
I say, yeah, in horror logic. Mm-hmm. And says she's not part of the family or anything. But she just wanted to be, she wanted to apply to the job because there's a help wanted sign out front. And he says that he has books everywhere because every body he's done has its own story to tell, and he likes to write the stories down. And so she says, tell her one, and that rolls you into the first one.
See, that's the the complicated synopsis.
Yes. Yeah, the first one is woman. You see her. It's clearly like 50s, 60s based on her dress and stuff. Rolls into a bathroom. Some guy out front wants her to come back out. She dodges him. You discover she's been yanking people's wallets, basically, and hiding them. And eventually she sees here's a strange noise in the bathroom, goes to investigate it, and probably shouldn't have done that.
This also is the first time we see a doctor character's driver's license that appears in every story.
See, we didn't even talk about that last time.
No.
We didn't notice that.
So I don't know if this takes place in the 50s or not, because it wouldn't be logical for the doctor to be there and be in the other stories.
I mean, I think one of the things we talked about last time is the mortuary looks old. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not really clear when the movie's supposed to take place, because none of the segments really seem like super futuristic. None of them are very modern. No one's using like a cell phone, or anything.
There is a very, very old TV in the babysitter thing. So
I think the implication is it's like 50s and 60s, because it seems that way from like the way they're talking about in the next segment where they talk about sexual revolution and liberation. It kind of still implies 50s and 60s and 70s, basically.
Right.
And the kid had an old camera at the start of the movie too.
Yes, this is very also true. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So
this was good, but this was good, but it was very short.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
This is literally over in like 5 minutes tops.
5-6 minutes. Yeah.
I feel like it's more of a time filler.
And it was I mean, we'll get to it in a second, but it was a short story that he just tried to tell, and she's like, oh well, whatever. But I thought it was cool.
Well done.
Of all of them, I think I would like it to be stretched out more than some of the others are, because some of them, as I complained in the last one, are too fucking long. I would love this one to be longer.
And I also think that in terms of like setting something up and like having the payoff, you might be able to tell where the whole thing is going in general, but the meaning of an initial thing that happens in the story, it's really well done. It's very smart. Like the little twist that happens at the beginning and how it kind of gets paid off at the very end. It's very interesting. Definitely one of the higher parts in it.
To me, this one story set this up to like just keep going and going and going.
Mm-hmm. It's a good starter. And it does help, like you said, that after the story's over with, and this is something that, at least for me, was both to the movie's benefit and to the movie's detriment, which was it has a really bad habit of like being very meta. And so after this story ends, she's like, well, that was kind of short. And, it kind of just seemed like it was there I seem there should be more to it, as if to tell you, the audience, yes, I know you think this is short and there should be more to it, kind of thing. Which in this case, it works, because it rolls out like that. And legitimately, you're thinking this should be longer. And then here's a character going, that really should have been longer.
And of course, if you want to dive that much more into it, everything she says that the story was lacking kind of is in the last story.
Oh yeah, and I think that's intentional. That's the thing, is like there's a few moments where it does that in this movie, and one of them will come up later on, where it kind of just was a little too cute for me on that. But mostly when it does that, it's kind of handled okay. It's handled pretty well. It kind of improves the story, basically. So she basically tells him, that wasn't nothing special. And he goes, oh, you want a real story? And I think he takes her. Does he take her to the morgue at this point, or something like that? Or they do it still in the same room? I'm not sure.
I feel like the morgue comes in story 3, don't it?
Yeah,
the morgue comes in story 3 because it's.
So he goes, oh, yeah. Maybe it's in the office, I think. Yeah.
It's just. It's maybe them leaving. It's maybe them leaving that room.
Yeah.
But it is about a university, college, frat, and they're handing out condoms to young ladies, saying that it's the women's right to do what they want. They're no longer to be told what to do by men. If they want to go out and have sex, protective sex, then they're more than welcome to. All to try to get them to come to a party to have protected sex.
Whether they know it or not.
Correct. So dorky guy's trying to get this good-looking girl to come, and like the suave senior comes in, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry about my brother here," and he strikes up a conversation with the girl and seems to actually like her. And invites her to she's like, maybe I'll come, maybe I won't, I don't know. And she shows up, and right from the get-go, they just go at it for like 12 hours.
Literally, the movie goes to the trouble of showing you that it's happening for 12 hours.
The clock just keeps going.
with no condom.
Yeah, so the way it works out is
she tells him to wear it.
She's like, here, you gave me this. And so he puts it on, and he starts to have sex, and you can tell visibly he's not comfortable with it. And then he goes, turn over. And so the minute she flips over, he pulls it off and does the whole rubber band thing and flaps it across the room, and they fuck for 12 hours. Basically.
Which isn't good.
No.
So next day, he doesn't feel very well. She writes, "Call me," with her number on the mirror, and he's like, the player, so he fucking wipes it off. Wants nothing to do with her. And as he keeps getting like more visibly sick, he goes to the doctor, and then he's trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with him, and he keeps trying to get back to this girl, and just everything is holding him up.
Mm-hmm. It's very much one that it uses comedy well, gross out comedy, but comedy.
Quite a bit of that here.
The doctor visit is great.
Doctor visit is very, very funny.
It's it's a good segment. I wouldn't say it's the worst segment in it. It does have some problems, at least for me, because I love urban legends. I discussed this last time. My wife and I watched Candyman for the first time, the original, because I've been doing an online class, and I told her that it's one of my favorite subgenres is urban legends. I love horror movies about urban legends, and this is textbook. The surprise you've got AIDS written on a mirror after you've had sex with someone, or the very idea of having sex with someone randomly and it being a bad idea and causing a problem. They used it in Wreck, in the first part of Wreck. They used it in a bunch of movies, basically. It's a very standard trope. So that part kind of was a little bothersome to me, but it's still handled pretty well. The ending's goofy. The ending's real goofy.
I was into it until the end.
I mean, where else could you go with it?
It's not.
It was too much.
Goofy. It's not so much the ending is goofy. It's what's right after the ending is the goofy part, to me anyway. Like, you could have stopped right before that last coda, and it probably would have been at least okay for me.
You don't like the hand?
I mean, the hand, everything else in the room, that implies so much about how long this has all been going on. That part.
Nobody uses protection.
Apparently, yeah. In the 60s, no one uses condoms ever.
Well, there's your social commentary for the movie.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It is a pretty blunt social commentary one.
Yeah, I like it.
It's good. It's good. It's just it's not as good as the first one in the movie, basically.
I don't know about the CGI penile shot, but
was it CGI?
It looks CGI. I mean,
I didn't get a good enough look.
It was quick. It was quick.
I can't say I didn't get a good enough look. So
Chuck knows a lot about those shots.
It looks CGI to me. I could be wrong.
That is true. He is an expert in this field.
Last time I said something with CGI, I got a director messaging me telling me it wasn't CGI because I could have sworn they used CGI on some of the kills for Silent Night, but the director was like, "No, we didn't." I guess we'll have to save that for December.
Like the Silent Night, the remake?
Yeah.
I love it. It's good.
We're gonna do all of them. Look, I know what I set myself up for. I'm gonna deal with it in December.
Set yourself up for greatness, my friend.
I know I did. That's the thing. I'm not mad. I'm happy about it, man.
But no, I like this segment. I think this one of the better ones. Probably the second best one to me out of the bunch. And which we're leading into what I feel is the worst.
It's so after this segment, she's kind of like, "Oh yeah, that was real good," and then she's like, "But really, it's just a story about oh, don't do this thing, you shouldn't do this thing, and this is what happens, bad consequence, things like that." And they go on further down, and they're like towards the morgue, and he's talking about this body that's on the slab in front of him, and she's like, everybody tells a story, and he says, what do you see? And she sees like that she looks beautiful, like nothing's really gone wrong, and he goes, yeah, but there's this on the hand, and there's this kind of odd thing that looks like it's got a bed sore underneath, and the fingernails look a little funny, and it seems they kind of work out with like a heavy metal basically having been used. And it leads into the story of a guy who's forced to take care of his comatose wife, basically. He literally just has to feed her. She is completely non-responsive. The movie tells you that this wasn't always the case. Like, they got married and everything was fine, but something happened somehow.
It didn't even look like it was too long into their marriage.
No. And he loves her. It's clear he loves her, but he's getting frustrated with it, and the bills are piling up. And so the best character in the whole short, segment, the doctor comes in and says,
Same doctor.
That's the thing. I remembered that, and also he shows up. Isn't he the doctor or the husband in the last segment?
The husband.
Yeah,
the last one.
I thought so last time. Yeah.
His only spot in the first one, it's his driver's license, and she kind of taps on his picture, which kind of makes you pay attention to it being him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he comes in and is like,
he's a cop in it too.
Oh yeah, he's a cop in the beginnings of the the actor is a cop in the beginning of the so the actor, what it was is the actor who plays the husband in this is
That's
one
it,
of the cops in the Babysitter Murder segment. Like that segment on the TV where they're like, yeah, they escaped from there. Yeah, one of them. Anyway.
That's right.
The doctor comes in and is like, he tells her that she's not doing well, but she'll probably survive for like another year, maybe more. She's stable, basically. And the husband's like, what the hell? And the doctor's like, well, there's this medicine you could give her. And if you give her this medicine, I mean, she could die if you give her too much of it. And he's like, he's like, no, you don't understand. It doesn't leave a trace. She could die. And, and so, yes, juggle with whether he wants to do it or not. And things go downhill from there.
Yeah. I don't really think there's no reward in this one.
It's kind of the issue. It's you kind of expect there to be more of a thing to it than there is.
Yeah, I mean, like you have the whole thing of him struggling to get the trunk, down the elevator and all of that stuff, and then it's just you have this little magical, weird moment. I don't know, and then
his neighbor's great. His neighbor is wonderful.
The little old lady is awesome.
I feel like this one, like this, I think it's a good movie overall, but I think like this is the one that holds it back from being what it could have been.
We'll talk later on about how I review anthologies because I have a whole method, but
very scientific method.
Very scientific. I mean, I have a scientific degree, man. I got two of them. But my thing about anthologies is I don't think anybody's ever. You can probably list the number of anthologies you've seen where every single segment is good or great on one hand.
Tales from the Hood.
Tales from the Hood. I said Creepshow last time.
Yeah.
Trick or Treat. There's a few. You can name like maybe two tops hands, but every one of them has something that's like a divot. Even if all the rest of them are good, there's one that might not be quite as good, and that's kind of what this one is.
Mm-hmm.
This was definitely my least favorite, and it gets absurd. Whereas like the last one was fucking goofy, this one's just as bad.
The ending, I honestly almost went whole. You guys have seen Shape of Water?
No,
haven't watched it.
So one of the things in Shape of Water is like, you've seen the poster where it's like the shot of the gill person and the woman, and it's just surrounded by blue, and they're like floating in water.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he was trying to go for a scare at the end of this segment, but honestly, I just kept remembering that shot.
It looks like that with like reddish pink around them, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if he's trying to go scary on this, because I mean, you feel for the guy, you do. That's why it's not a bad segment. You do feel for him endlessly. Yes. Even if it's the comedy part where he's trying to get the thing down the stairs, you feel for him. But at the end of the day, it just kind of just dies, basically. Pun not intended. Yeah. So, and then the movie...
Which leads us to our... Probably, well, I didn't know it was a short film. I almost feel like I should take away some points now, because this was a short film before it was
Well, I mean, my thing was, this is where I said, okay, you went a little bit too cute, which is when he looks literally like I told W last time, I said, imagine I'm looking at the camera right now, okay, and you're standing here. I can still be looking directly at the camera and be believably talking to you, and he looks down the camera and goes, "You're going to love this next one," and I'm just like, "Okay, stop.
Breaking the wall.
But yeah, basically it builds up to this whole idea that, you know, this last segment, you know, is going to be the one. They go down to the crematorium, and he's about to throw the coffin into the furnace, and the girl stops her and goes, "Wait, I lied. I actually am here for him. You know, I can tell you his story," and so she's the one telling the story of this last body, basically.
Yeah.
You got it, W?
Yeah. So we are at, this is the short film, The Babysitter Murders. So we have this girl from the wraparound talking to the little boy. And it looks like she's reading him a story. Parents are out and she's dancing around the house, making dinner, just put the kid to bed. And she's watching a horror film. And it's like the film is mimicking the film on TV. So we see somebody staring in at the girl in the movie from the outside, and someone is staring in from the outside at this one. News bulletin comes, you know, maniac, child murderer, fucking cannibal escapes from the local institute and is on the loose. And the parents are like frantically trying to get home to, you know, make sure their little boy and babysitter are okay. So our main girl here is still just kind of dancing around, and then everything just starts to go wrong for her when obviously this person comes into the home, and there's just a fucking pretty great and a really good choreographed just knockdown drag out fight.
Halloween this ain't. Basically, like, this is...
It's all Halloween.
Yeah, what was it? This is Halloween with... This is the remake. This is the most recent... This is the reboot, in essence, in that it's, you know, agency, ass-kicking, etc. version of a fight, basically, instead of running away the whole time.
Right. But I really enjoyed this one.
It's very good.
And it was actually like... not that anything in this is scary or suspenseful, but this had like the tiniest bit of suspense to it.
Mm-hmm. A really, really good twist.
Yeah.
Good blood.
What's up?
Especially on the good blood, especially on the movie they're watching on television.
Which and I wonder some on the actual fight.
I wonder sometimes if the movie on the TV they're watching might have not been better than what we actually was watching. But
so I will say, we are saying that we were told that the last segment was originally a short film. I will be honest, I don't know if it's a short film in and of itself, or if like what they're showing footage of on the TV was a short film.
Ooh,
well. I don't know. Now, it would make more sense if the whole thing was, because that would flow with the way it goes as a story. But just a thought. I don't know.
Maybe it is.
Because like there's one of the more interesting things about it, we didn't really mention it too much, but is that there's elements of the movie that are on the TV that are also kind of paralleling what's going on in the actual real world, you know, and that kind of also is kind of a really interesting kind of way to play it out, basically.
Now, while we don't want to give this away, obviously, this one comes with a twist, and the aftermath is. I thought the aftermath of this went too long.
You mean you're talking about what happened after?
Everything that happens after the story. Too long.
I really liked how that kind of played out. I will say some of the CG in the ending of the wraparound was a little bit wonky, particularly at the very end. But Clancy Brown's performance, we didn't say this, but Clancy Brown plays the mortician, and he's also an executive producer, I believe, on this. He is phenomenal in this movie and really kind of goes all out in the ending. But the CG at the end is a little bit weird in terms of how it gets played out, but the ending itself makes sense. I will say where the second one goes urban legendy. The fourth one, not to go too deep, it has a bit of an urban legend element of it itself, and I thought it was handled better because it was more subtle. But yeah.
I feel like our mortuary guy is channeling his inner tall man at times.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe just because he looks like him a little bit. I don't know, but I got that vibe.
It really comes through on the ending when he's speaking to her from the balcony, because like he has that kind of booming, forceful voice that Angus Scrimm always had. Rest in peace. As well as rest in peace since the last time recorded to the guy who got hit in the head with a silver sphere in the first movie. But anyway, I'm assuming you guys knew that, right?
No.
Yeah, the guy who played the actor who played the guy who gets hit by the silver sphere in the first Phantasm died in like the last couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
I thought it was 2 days ago, but
something like that. It's within the last couple weeks.
We've lost Alex Trebek since we last been on here.
Mm-hmm.
We lost. Somebody else we lost. Oh, Sean Connery.
Yes.
007. And wrestling legend Tracy Smothers, all in the last couple weeks.
Yes. And and since we last recorded, we also lost a Road Warrior.
Has it been that long?
Since you were here, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I think he had died before we recorded that last one, but since no one else knows about that, hey. But anyway.
We're doing mortuary collection. Isn't that something?
Hey, it's 2020. Everything's dying. So my patented scientific method is basically I look at the movie, I break it down, and every segment gets a 0, a half, or a 1. And I needed to do this because back in the written review days, I had to review ABC's of Death. And if you think that I know how to review a 26 short film anthology in a way that makes sense in my head, but I had a general idea of what I thought it was, and I sat there and watched the whole thing. It was like 0, half, 1, 0. Added them all up, divided it out, and it pretty much matched up to what I felt. And so I've used that ever since. Wraparound got a 1 for me. First story got a 1. Second story, when I first reviewed it on the show, it got a 0, I think, from me. And then the second got a half, but really you can go either way on that for me. And it's just because that urban legendness that I felt like I'd already seen on it really bugged me. But I think now it's more that's the half and the third segment's the 0 for me. And then the fourth segment got a 1 for me. So overall, I mean, that's 1, 1, 1.5, and a 0. That's a 3.5 out of 5. That's what I'm going with. It fits about what I felt.
What a coincidence. I didn't have no scientific method, but I'm giving it a 3.5.
I mean, it works for me. You do you.
I have no idea what I gave it the last time we tried to review this, but I'm giving it a 3.5. So.
Well, there it is. All the same.
Yep.
It's good.
It's a good thing, and Chuck can speak to this because he's just watched Tales from the Hood 3. It's a good thing that anthologies still get made that are good. It's a subgenre that needs to always be around because God knows there are enough short horror films to make one, basically.
I don't know how, like, in regards to Tales from the Hood 3, it's the same directors. It's the same producers. Spike Lee produces it. I don't know how it still looks so cheap compared to the old one. I don't know if it's because everything's shot digital now or something.
Oh, yeah.
But it just don't feel the same.
Could be.
It's got to be that. I mean, like, as part of, like, all this, like, over the last, few weeks, like, wife and I watched Candyman, and, they're literally in the middle of Chicago, filming stuff physically in the middle of Chicago. Maybe there were some sets, sure, but mostly you're in Chicago or stuff like that. Or when we were watching Blackula, Scream, you're in some place in New York City filming in the middle of the street, There is an element of that, and I feel like Tales from the Hood probably had some set stuff, sure, but like a lot of it was here it is, it's there, physically present there, and that does affect having the actual item there helps.
Yeah, and also, I think that's one problem which we all know. Phantasm Ravager was horrendous, but it looked very cheap. You had all the other films, even the lower budget ones, were still shot on film.
Well, I mean, Ravager is a weird case because Ravager was originally a web series.
Oh yeah, it just looks bad. It looks like a fan film.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was originally a fan film
with the real characters in it, though.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, but you take a balance on that, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not.
I've never revisited after that first watching of it.
I had it. I bought that box set when it came out, and I had every intention on powering through the movies again, and I just never got to that one.
I feel 1 and 3 are like the best.
Hey, at the very least, you can watch 1, 3, 4, and 5 on Shudder via Joe Bob. So.
Well, maybe 4 though. Maybe 4 because I don't really think we needed. Everybody wanted a new Phantasm movie, but I feel like that last one before Ravager kind of wrapped everything up. Hell, they even had old footage.
Coscarelli
they
said
even
that.
had.
No, I mean, it was
they even
supposed
had old
to.
Footage.
Yeah.
They had the footage they hadn't used from the first movie that they could circle back and use.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I have no problem with them making it, but I'm just like it's kind of like when they made the Craft reboot, or they're talking about oh god, what was it they announced they're working on? Oh, today I heard they're getting ready to make a sorority house massacre TV series. Norman Reedus is supposed to produce it.
Norman Reedus.
And I'm like, why? Like,
well, they're remaking Scrooge with Kevin Hart apparently.
God, did you have to tell me that on the air? I'd never heard that. God damn it.
The old Bill Murray movie.
God damn it.
They're supposed to be doing Trains, Planes, and Automobiles a remake with like Kevin Hart or somebody in it, ain't they? He's just gonna go get all the old movies we loved and ruin them.
Just look, I don't hate remakes. I really don't. But my God, just have an original idea. Just for fucking wife and I on Halloween, we watched The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Okay? You want to talk original ideas from the last 5 years? It's on Netflix right now. Go watch it.
It's a great movie.
Really fucking good. It's phenomenal.
If I made a list of like probably the best, original movies that's come out in the past 5-10 years, I definitely would have had that on there. I would have, up there with. I think It Follows is great. A lot of people don't like It Follows. I like.
I haven't seen it.
But, you've got some people throw Hereditary on there, obviously.
Yeah.
But then
there are ones that are good. Midsummer.
The Witch.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, those are the ones, but like the ones that get the dap, the ones that get the play is, here's a new Leatherface movie. Here's your new, we're making Invisible Man. Invisible Man's great, but it got all the play. Autopsy of Jane Doe was an IFC release.
Mm-hmm.
That's a freaking injustice.
IFC does some pretty good stuff.
They do, but I'm just saying it's an injustice. They have to because they have a theater in New York and a theater in California. You ain't ever going to see it in your local multiplex.
For better or worse, they had the Babadook.
Yeah, again, like and Magnet. We talked about I think a few episodes ago that Magnet stuff rolled its way into Dollar Trees and Dollar Generals right now. And
I'm
Magnet.
Happy with that, though.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. No, I'm not mad about that. But I'm saying is like those movies from 10 years ago. I saw them for review because I lived within a 45-minute train ride in New York City and could go to press screenings of them. But if I didn't have that, you think I'd be able to see Tucker and Dale versus Evil before it hit Blu-ray? Fuck no. I mean that's bullshit. But
I did, but we just bootlegged them.
And that's the thing. And then they tell us not to bootleg stuff, and we're like, well, you're not putting them out in theaters.
Well, that's how I've seen most of the old hard to watch stuff that are, like the guinea pig movies and all that was all bootlegs back in the day. Mm-hmm. Back when I wanted to see everything that was just horrible, before I outgrew all that stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of which, I did get the Untold Story. I really want to watch that. I haven't got to watch it yet.
I'm gonna probably be ordering it in the next.
I hear it's really good, and then almost more importantly than the movie, it's got a documentary about those.
That's the whole reason I'm ordering it.
Yeah, that's the reason I want it. So, and I did get live feed finally, the Ryan Nixon movie, which hopefully the Blu-ray looks better than Gutterballs. Gutterballs look terrible on Blu-ray.
Because of you saying that, I've still not bought it, and I love Gutterballs.
I think it's
what else
source,
is on
man.
it? Is there anything worthwhile beyond that?
No, there's a 2-disc version that's got all the extra stuff on it. Mine's not 2-disc, so I don't have all that stuff. But I think there's like maybe a making of and stuff maybe on the 2-disc version. I think they might have done 2-disc live feed. I know live feed, which is it's over here. This is just the standard one. I don't know if there's a 2-disc version of this or not. But it's got commentary behind the blood, which is the making of, return to the location, deleted scenes, alternate scene, alternate ending, video feed, womb service, short film. Like this is actually pretty packed. So there must not be a 2-disc version of this. So if you like Ryan Nixon stuff, I would probably say go and get this. Although I feel it's probably not going to look good because I think all of his stuff was shot like digital, and it probably wasn't like full HD digital back at the time either.
I mean,
I'm assuming.
I've only seen that on the DVD that I have, and
I
it's
didn't
fucking
care
rough looking on that.
Yeah, I didn't particularly care for this movie when I first watched it. But
You know what's
I mean, this
funny?
is a
When I first watched that, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was actually in China.
Really?
Yeah.
This is 2005, so keep in mind you're dealing with 2005, probably digital, converted to HD here.
So I
I'm
watched
sure it
that and
still
I'm
looks
like,
better.
oh great, Morgan's gonna get fucking put in one of these porno theaters and killed.
Speaking of like these old movies like that, I want to see. Like I've got Red Room 2, but I don't have Red Room 1.
It's not a print.
And yeah, unfortunately.
Half
And
the shit is now.
somebody tries to tell me that this was Unearthed film.
Oh yeah.
And someone tried to tell me it was like basically it's Saw. Is that true? Or is that like, because I don't remember hearing anything about that.
Been a while.
I've never watched them, but
I
I've got them on. I've got 1 and 2 in a hard box from Electrocity.
But you never watched them?
No, I never watched them.
Oh, I missed my comfortable chair. I had a good chair when we did these shows and it broke, so I'm using the rough one now. So if you see me squirming, it's because I'm old and haven't sat in an uncomfortable chair. But no, I mean that's like Relic. I got Relic from Scream Factory too. I've heard good things about it.
I mean, looking at a plot synopsis, Red Room is kind of like Saw. I've got film follows a group of 4 contestants, a husband and wife on the verge of divorce, and a pair of sisters on a reality game show who are locked in the titular room to torture each other, with the last person standing winning $1 million. The contestants pick cards, decide who picks the torture, who applies it, who will be the victim, etc.
Yeah. I've heard that if you watch part 2, it kind of recaps part 1, but I kind of like to see part 1 anyway before I watch part 2. I also heard that Evil Dead Trap's coming to the Blu-ray from somebody.
Probably from Unearthed.
We talked about that. It's no, it's a
Massacre.
foreign release.
Oh.
And apparently they're like $50 a disc to get them to the U.S.
Well, I don't guess I'll be getting that one.
I mean, Jesse may end up getting them at a cheaper price.
I liked Evil Dead Trap. I don't remember much about them though. It's been so long since I watched them. I've got one.
Go ahead.
I've only got the first one. I've only seen the first one.
Part 2 is actually another Unearthed release. One was Synapse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as I said, that's what I'm checking on right now. Like you can buy Evil Dead Trap for $15 on Amazon right now. The first one, DVD that is. Now, if you want to buy the other one, then there's a $45.16 version from Unearthed. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's out of print.
Yeah, basically.
I think that whole set, like there was like a whole, like what of theirs isn't out of print anymore, right? I mean that's like the value though of like Philosophy of a Knife and all that stuff's going to drop because Massacre's putting out a box set of basically a whole list of stuff that Unearthed has that's out of print right now. Which is that set not out yet? The Cannibal, I think was it Cannibal?
I don't think it's supposed to be out till January.
No, I haven't bought a Massacre title in a very long time.
I got rid of.
I got rid of some of my older ones, like I didn't care much about the Orko the Embalmer or whatever stuff, junk films, all that. No, I mostly like my favorite stuff from Massacre was like the old shot on video stuff. Although I can get behind these indie films here they're putting out.
Apparently, Hack-O-Lantern's selling real well after Joe Bob put it on the show for Halloween.
I bet it is.
No, they said they were running out and they had to get more printed and stuff, so they're kind of making more of them up. Me, I'm just glad that I have a copy of the Unearthed Films release of Two Front Teeth, one of my favorite Christmas horror movies.
That's a great one.
It is so good and so unknown.
Yeah, I've never seen
the
it.
best thing about Hack-O-Lantern is that we have to think that Gregory Scott Cummings is like an 18-year-old kid when he's obviously like 30 or 40 in the movie. And he plays Max Dad on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
It goes back to that.
Always does.
Absolutely.
So
there is nothing else.
That reminds me, we're still waiting for Rock Road Nightmare on Blu-ray, by the way.
Good luck with that. I have this feeling that like some of those kind of things, it's kind of like with Trick or Treat, which is soundtracks and audio issues.
Mm-hmm.
But
and then when they come out, they'll just magically appear on 4K. They'll just skip the Blu-ray thing altogether.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Whatever.
I've
got a shitty looking Blu-ray, so
I got a DVD of Rock and Roll Nightmare, and I've got Black Roses, I think. So I
got them all on DVD, and then I also have a Trick or Treat.
Got Wild Zero too. Wild Zero is so good.
Oh yeah, that's
rock and roll.
Somebody needs to fast track like all those Asian films that Synapse put out back in the day on DVD. The ones that actually can be on Blu-ray, they need to fast track those. I don't know, stuff like Stacy. I don't know if it could be.
Well, I mean, like some of that, like Arrow did a few of those, and I thought they were gonna do more of them. Like they did Horrors of Malformed Men.
Oh, yeah, I didn't care for that.
Right, but what I'm saying is they were digging into that Synapse catalog.
It was that same dude though. Like they directed the Horrors of Malformed Men, and they did like 2 or 3 other movies by the same director.
Yeah, but I mean that was where it was at. So like if they wanted to get more stuff from them, I'm sure Synapse would have been like, hell yeah, fuck it, what up? If they really wanted to. But yeah, there is something else too, and that is news. We're gonna start with, because I have enough to say about him for one reason, so we'll talk about him otherwise too. I'm in the W boat here, where I'm waiting for Scream Factory to give me a shipping information of any kind for an order I placed October 10th. That's a month ago yesterday from their Halloween sale. I've gotten everything else I've ordered from everywhere else, or at least some kind of shipping confirmation. But they're on my shit list for that, but I know they're busy. They're more on my shit list for something that happened in the time since you recorded last, which was, we talked when we recorded last time that Cauldron Films has their pre-orders up for Crimes of the Black Cat and for Beyond Terror, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah. And the collector's editions, go for it. They also have bundles up for the regular editions of Abracadabra and American Rickshaw. But they also threw in some hard boxes for American Rickshaw and Abracadabra. I think it's a little off doing that right after you just did the special edition of the other, but it's not as much as I was against that before. Yesterday made me far less annoyed about them on that, and I'll get to that in a second. But if you are interested in the special editions of Crimes of the Black Cat or Beyond Terror, they are available. It was announced today for pre-order on the Cauldrons Film website until December 1st. And then after that, it's going to go off pre-order so that there will still be some available when they go on sale to begin with.
I'll put a link to the website in the description.
The reason that their action on that with the hard boxes stopped bothering me is because Scream Factory just announced that the same exact year that they released a version of My Bloody Valentine from 1981 that came with 2 posters, 2 slipcovers, etc. Came out in February. They announced yesterday or day before that next February they're going to put out the exact same disc, except it's going to be in a steelbook, and it'll come with an action figure if you pre-order it. Now, apparently,
if you pay extra for the action figure, it is.
Yeah, you can get the steelbook on its own, and you can get the action figure on its own. So I'll give them the credit for that. But you just put it out the same year, and you're announcing that anybody who bought that, thinking they had the really good version, well, now they don't have a steelbook. They don't have a poster, because that one will now also come with another lithograph of the steelbook artwork, and they don't have the action figure.
That just ties into people that just want to have the steelbooks, man, because that's a whole other breed of cat there, the guys that just want to have steelbooks.
I mean,
what's
we were talking
funny,
and we were like, yeah, go ahead.
Well, we were talking, and it's like, I was, no, it's been at least 2 years or so since they released that, because it was in my in my cart on Amazon for fucking ever, and it was like $14.99, and I was like, I'm gonna buy this, and I didn't do it, and then it went back up, so I've never purchased it. And I'm like, no, it's definitely been a while. And then at the same time that like you're looking up when it was released, I'm on looking up when it was released and realized that it came out in February. And that just goes to show you how fucked up this year is. That February to me seems like 2 fucking years ago already.
Yep.
Well, that's because you had 2 different worlds after March. you know.
Of course, well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked on the group chat, like they announced, Prince of Darkness 4K Steelbook, and they've announced other ones. I think they did announce that They Live one, if I recall correctly. I'm not sure,
They've
but
not said if they're sending these 4Ks to anybody yet, though.
but the thing is, like, they're doing these Steelbooks, and you yourself said, Silent Night, Deadly Night has been out for a while from them. They could have done one for Christmas, and it would have been.
I think Dance Commander said that.
Yeah, sorry. And it would
That's
have
all
made
right.
sense. It's been out for
I'll
a while.
take credit for it.
Go for it. It's been out like for a year and a half, 2 years. And there are other things that they've done from the beginning that they've already done steelbooks of. The Howling, Prince of Darkness, Halloween 2 and 3, I think.
Big Trouble.
The Fog, I want to say.
Pretty much
all
everything John Carpenter did.
Yeah, all that stuff has steelbooks. And you have a litany of other stuff you've released that doesn't have a steelbook yet. Candyman, for example, for God's sake, I just watched their Blu-ray of it.
But that just came out
last year, I want to say.
I thought it was like during.
Because here's the thing, I know for a fact that was that way because of how I bought it, which is I bought it the same way I bought The Thing, which was I found it dirt cheap in a Walmart. And I don't think I'd find My Bloody Valentine dirt cheap in a Walmart right now.
But you can find Candyman dirt cheap in a Walmart right now.
I did. And The Thing. Which also, I don't know if it has
it seems to be like a pattern. It's like the old MGM titles or something, right?
It actually released 2 years ago. November 20th, 2018. You could have done a steelbook of that. But no, and it's not even that you do a steelbook. Some of those steelbooks, they said, oh, it's got a new transfer. No, they came right out and said, this is the exact same disc that's in the original one they did earlier. And it's just like,
they're getting lazy.
Why?
I feel like they're taking a little bit of a hit here lately because they've not announced a whole lot of new stuff. Or it's not that I've seen.
Not that's been worth a lot.
And then they've had all these replacement discs they're having to do for the Friday 13th set.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm guessing maybe financial ways aren't as good as they should be right now.
I mean, their big stuff right now is stuff like Brides of Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing against Hammer, for God's sakes. I love Hammer, but you're not going to build your horror empire on Brides of Dracula, basically.
They put out a bunch of Hammer collector's editions, and some of those Hammer collector's editions were the only collector's editions they've never sent to reviewers. That and Idle Hands. That's the only thing they didn't send out. So that's what my collection is missing. Well, I mean, I can always go back and get them. I just those. I would like to get the slipcase with those.
But yeah, so that's our Scream Factory rant for the day. Apart from, of course, don't forget that if your Friday the 13th collection has issues, you can still ask them for discs. God knows when you'll get them, but you can still ask them for.
I just did that today.
Have you finally opened your set?
Yeah, we're on 5 now. Like we've been watching. 1 and 2 looked good. 3 looked awful. 4 looked pretty good. 4 actually looked really good.
You're now out of the woods of the actual remastered stuff, right? Now you're just getting into the repackaged stuff.
I think so.
There's a few in there that,
yeah.
Severance started putting out their Black Friday list, and somebody picked up on it earlier today, one guy, and then I went further down the road, so I'm saying right now, I went further down the road earlier today, November 11th, because now somebody on the Severance Facebook group has posted what they think as of 20 minutes ago as we record this.
Of every single movie.
Yeah. Basically,
I'm all about that number 7.
I bet you are.
What they predict?
So I'll go through that in a second. But basically, they started off with this blank sheet, and it was a red, like, theater curtain, and like the Severin letter, Severin across the top, like a playbill, like from Broadway. And when we recorded last, they had announced the Theater Bazaar, which everybody knew was already coming because they said they were going to put their documentary about Anthology films on it. It's their movie. It was a thing that people knew was coming. Then they went a little further into a weird direction because they said, oh, we're going to do this movie called The Attic Expeditions. And everyone was like, what? And it looks interesting. It's got a hell of a cast. It's got Jeffrey Combs and, yeah. Then they announced in the time since W and I recorded, Plague Town, which again everyone's kind of like, what? And today they announced Family Portraits, which have you heard of it, Chuck? Because I've heard of it, and I know W hasn't. But basically, like, Rue Morgue was all over Family Portraits. It's in their like 100 alternative horror films list. It's supposed to be really bleak and depressing. It's an anthology, but it's like a collection of short films he did, one of which is called Cutting Moments, and that's like supposed to be like the gem of the whole thing. But yeah, it's basically kind of supposed to be like really dark, like suburbanite horror kind of stuff, but like in really bleak ways. It's supposed to be really good. I don't need it right now, obviously, for Black Friday, but yeah. But when he did that, everybody went, wait a minute. So Attic Expeditions is directed by Jeremy Katzen. Jeremy Katzen directed the wraparound for Theater Bizarre. David Gregory did Plague Town. Besides working and running Severin, he directed a segment for Theater Bizarre. Douglas Buck did Family Portraits. He directed a segment for Theater Bizarre. The thing that it's all on is a red theater curtain like a playbill, and there's 4 movies left on it, which would line up with the 4 directors left that did anything for it were Buddy Giovinazzo, Karim Hussein, Richard Stanley, and Tom Savini.
Okay, so what are we talking about here? We're talking about Subconscious Cruelty and Dust Devil?
We're talking about Subconscious. I think we're talking Subconscious Cruelty. A lot of people.
We better be talking Dust Devil 4K or get the fuck out.
Yeah, Dust Devil 4K is some people thinking, and they're also thinking they might have gotten the rights back for hardware, so they might put that out again. I think for Giovinazzo, this guy put No Way Home. I think they've already said in a YouTube video, they implied that Combat Shock was out of print for now. I think Combat Shock's about ready to come back in print, and that they're going to do something with it for Black Friday. And now everybody's curious about Tom Savini. I'm going to go out there and say I feel like they got the rights to Night of the Living Dead 90 from Twilight Time.
He directed and starred in this real fucking
and that would be the other one. That would be the other possibility. Yeah.
Vampire movie?
I've heard of
it. That movie's shot on video, guys.
You know what I'm talking about, Chuck? I have it. I can't think of what.
Yeah.
He lures some female vampire into his property or some shit.
Like
blood something, ain't it?
Like I've got this thing called Chill Factor House Call, but that ain't it. I know it ain't. You know, and that's the thing that's so weird is like everything on here, it says 8 results of 10 by most recent. There's something else he did. I know it. You know, and that he directed it too. And honestly, that's the other thing. But
if they're doing this one movie I'm thinking of, it would have to be the Sever or the Intervision line.
Oh wait, it's no, I know what they're probably doing. Hang on, let me check here. So they could theoretically be doing, if you're thinking of The Ripper, that'd be an option.
Yeah, The Ripper.
1985, The Ripper, which he stars in as having worn the ring of Jack the Ripper. Because that's the other thing is all the rest of them are directors, but Tom Savini primarily, apart from special effects, does acting. So I mean, you pick your random Tom Savini crappy movie he was in, and he could do it. So I mean, that would probably be a pretty strong choice. But that's probably what they're doing is basically they went, okay, great, we've got the rights to Theater Bizarre back. Let's do something from every single director involved.
As long as it's not Dead Time Stories, will be all right.
Yeah, they ain't gonna do that. They ain't gonna pull that shit. No way. But so that's, and the best part is when they announced Family Portraits today, somebody posted, I think these are the regular ones, and the next ones are gonna be the good ones, and I'm like. The good ones, okay, yeah, entitlement much. Like you can't have. There's only a set number of Fulci movies. There's only a set number of Franco movies. Okay, as much as they love to release Fulci and Franco, there's a lot of them, yeah, but there's only a set number of them, and you can't get all of them. So I mean,
I think the other good ones that we've not seen from Fulci is probably being set on by William Lustig.
Oh sure,
absolutely. Like for the Apocalypse, Contraband, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, Contraband was Arrow. If you're talking about, I'm thinking of Kotze. I'm thinking of Luigi Kotze. Never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Severin's Black Friday plan. Almost guaranteed, basically, is what they're doing that because it just fits the whole, not even just what they've announced, it fits the theme of what they're using to announce it, basically. So it's got to be that, basically. Mono Macabro had their sale. There were issues where people were whining and complaining about the process and cursing them out and sending them death threats. And there are still people who, I think it was Vinegar Syndrome or someone else, announced something, and someone commented that at least that people can talk shit about their stuff and not get banned, like with Mondo Macabro. And I'm like, you didn't talk shit, you sent a death threat.
Right.
You know, I mean, like, you don't want to get something from them. You don't like what they're releasing. That's great. Don't the death threat. You know.
People are stupid.
Very stupid. Last time we talked about it, but I'll bring it up here because Chuck didn't get the chance to weigh in on it, which is Arrow announced a bunch of stuff since we last recorded. That whoa, what the hell? Stop. That is not what I searched. By the way, W, just so you know, your intestine-eating anthropophagus plushie is now out of stock.
I was going to say, a couple hours ago, there was 3 left.
They are out of stock now. But yeah, they are. Arrow, much like Criterion, is in the middle of a Barnes & Noble sale. It's going on through the end of the month. 50% off whatever is in stock. But what has been announced for Arrow, apart from the fact that Crash got delayed due to issues with stuff, it's pushed into December for the 4K, but it'll come.
I'm pissed about that.
Yes, it is what it is. God damn, come on now. They really do want to talk about this El Duce tapes, don't they? Mm-hmm. Okay. So January they announced they're doing a UK Steelbook and a UK 4K Ultra HD for Old Boy. They're doing a Steelbook of Gamera's Heisei trilogy in America, England, and Canada, as well as some, I guess you'd call them like smaller box set versions of their bigger box set of pieces of it, basically. So yeah, they are doing a movie called, let me get this right, Joint Security Area, which is by Park Chan-wook. So
I've heard
continuing your Old Boy thing. England is getting Wreck on Blu-ray from them. And their big clue for this one was a picture of a rock. People thought it meant The Rock, as in Sean Connery. No, it meant The Rock, as in the people's elbow and the people's eyebrow, because it is Southland Tales, which is a really weird choice, but okay.
I was under the impression that they're supposed to be doing that for America at some point, too. Am I wrong?
It is part of the America. They're doing it for everybody.
Oh, okay.
It's a limited edition Blu-ray, but yeah.
Okay, I hated it when I first seen it. Man, I've not watched it since. And but of course, I was expecting Donnie Darko stuff, you know, and got something completely different. So,
in copies, I think, of King of New York 4K today, it was announced that people are getting postcards from Arrow for an upcoming Frighteners 4K, which, hell yes.
I think I saw the post about people getting the Frighteners, but I think I saw an actual announcement for that coming to 4K, like last week.
Well, the good thing about 4K is everybody can play those.
Yeah. Region regardless.
Which is why I look forward to the Old Boy 4K.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your difference, because Cronenberg's Crash was already out on 4K from Germany, and the cheapest place to get it's Diabolic, and it's like $54.99. Where you can get Arrow's Crash, which probably, I mean, I don't know about the transfer because I don't know this other company, but probably has better special features.
Oh yeah.
For $35. I mean, now that German one's got way fucking better artwork. Like, fucking, I want that artwork, but it's like $20.
I saw a post in response to something else, and you guys can speak to whether or not you've heard this, but for quite some time now, the common knowledge on Peter Jackson was that he was working on 4K restoring Bad Taste, Dead Alive, Meet the Feebles, etc. I don't know if Arrow releasing Frighteners in 4K points to them having those down the line. I saw someone say, though, that he's stopped doing that. I don't know if anybody knows anything about that or not.
Mm-hmm.
So would 4K do those films an injustice, do you think?
It would do bad taste, a very injustice, I believe.
I think it would. I would say, though, that I honestly would rather it do it an injustice than have it be in print than not have it be in print at all.
Well,
I would just like to have a Blu-ray of bad taste.
I'd be fine with a Blu-ray too. I'm just saying, like, it's not available to see easily right now, and that's kind of frightening, actually.
Well, the only copies I've got of Dead Alive and The Feebles and Bad Taste are all DVD copies. Of course, Dead Alive looks okay on DVD, but like the other two look like glorified bootlegs.
So Dead Alive did briefly hit Blu-ray by Lionsgate, and I've heard it was garbage.
So in Friday the 13th 3D, towards the end, guy gets his head smashed and his eye pops out.
Mm-hmm.
In 4K, it looked like a fucking balloon. Like, it looked like a balloon with a face drawn on it. It looked god-awful. So, I mean, you know that film had a higher, way bigger budget than Peter Jackson's films.
I mean, I'd love to see it on Blu-ray. I don't need to see Dead Alive, Bad Taste, and Meet the Feebles on 4K. I don't. I just want them available. Because much like Chuck, I've got bootleg of Meet the Feebles. I do actually have that super rare Anchor Bay Bad Taste DVD.
I've got all those old DVDs.
Yeah. And I have the Dead Alive DVD. You know, but that good shit, you know, like that's just sitting there. And unless Peter Jackson legitimately stopped trying to 4K restore them or restore them at all, somebody needs to get the fuck on that. Basically.
Why would he stop doing that, though?
That's the thing. I don't understand where the hell the guy got the idea that he did. You know, because it wouldn't make any sense.
Unless they just look bad, or something. I don't know.
In which case, great. Give them to someone to make a Blu-ray. I mean, for God's sake.
Just don't give them to Synapse, because we'll be 50 years old before they come out.
See, here's the thing. I don't mind Synapse doing that because, getting back to our discussion at the beginning of this, at least they'll make sure when it comes out that it's actually what it's supposed to be. And won't have to do this huge...
those films they've gone back and took their time with, like Popcorn and the Argento films, they all look fucking great.
Yeah, but
like,
what? It took a long time to get them.
They take forever, but when you get it, it's good. Whereas they don't have to open a website where you have to submit stuff to fix 4 discs of your $200 biggest release of the year. You know,
Chuck, do you have that Suspiria 4K?
Yeah. No, not 4K. I only got the Blu-ray of it.
I only have the Blu-ray, but you know why I only have the Blu-ray.
I only have the Blu-ray because I didn't have a 4K player at the time when it came out.
That never stopped you from writing reviews of 4K films?
They didn't send the 4K review or the 4K disc. But no,
you of course have already bought the 4KW.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should talk.
That was the first thing I bought when I got a player.
Of course it was.
Talk to James Van Bever. He'll tell you about Snap.
No.
Because he wasn't happy with his DVD of Dead Beat at Dawn back in the day.
Yeah, well, you know what?
There's some video recordings of him saying that the VHS tape looked better.
It did. For Deadly Spawn, probably, as well.
Yeah, because every so many months you send us those answering machine clips, Chuck.
They're always equally as hilarious. I should have left some voice messages like that on the Wild Eye answer machine.
You should have. Fuck, do it now.
Like, never too late.
People are asking about Vinegar Syndrome's stuff. I mean, it's the same stuff it always was. You know, they're doing their usual thing. I will say they announced in terms of new stuff. They haven't announced any new titles, but they did make some things a little more clear. First of all, Beastmaster, obviously the 4K Ultra HD, 40-page book, feature-length making-of documentary as well, deluxe special edition package. Fade to Black in an extras loaded edition, and they're going to do like they did last year when they Blu-rayed Spookies, which is they're going to put it out with multiple slips. If anybody pre-ordered the Everything Flash package a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago, they get both artworks. Then they're working on their Forgotten Jolly, My Dear Killer, French Sex Murders, and Girl in Room 2A. But in terms of the other stuff, the surprise titles, they've now said one of them is their long-promised very first 3D Blu-ray of an early 80s horror treat presented in its original scope framing and in full digital 3D, anaglyph 3D with custom glasses, and flat 2D. So all of them. Along with a, quote, late 80s, whacked-out, crowd-pleasing gore fest from one of their favorite underrated wizards of supernatural slice and dice.
And it's 3D?
That's the second one. The first one's 3D. The second, there's two unknowns. First is a 3D. Second one is the other thing. They're also doing...
Have you got any theories on what these are?
I've seen some discussions. Some people think Don't Panic is a possibility. For the second one. A lot of people think like Silent Madness or something along those lines would be the 3D possibility. I know it's not going to be Flesh for Frankenstein, but I can dream.
Has the old that old slasher Body Count ever been put on Blu-ray?
Don't think so. Not in America anyway. Then they also said they're going to announce 2 new action-packed VSA titles, and it says they're doing 2 new titles consisting of 3 movies in total, which is a choice of a way to word it. 2 releases from American Genre Film Archive, including She-Mob, a new release from a partner label in France called La Femme Objet. So, yeah. They've also been doing a series of, I guess you'd call them games, so to speak, where basically every week they post like a clue for something upcoming next year, basically. And that's basically where the discussion for Cthulhu Mansion came from, which seems to be pretty much confirmed now for next year at some point. But that's just been ongoing. Hasn't been a ton of other stuff in that regard. I will say, some idiot decided that they needed to put Freddy's Nightmares out on Blu-ray that posted about it, and everyone immediately said, it's a TV show. It's shot on video because it's like for a TV, in that way. And and that's not their thing. It's more Scream Factor thing. And then someone said it's too mainstream. And I'm like, they put out Rad. They're getting ready to put out Beastmaster. They put out Cutting Class. They put out Cutting Class, and its most famous thing about it is it's got Brad Pitt in it.
Well, the thing is, you got to take into consideration with this Freddy's Nightmares. It might be a situation like with Tales of the Crypt, because you know why Tales of the Crypt is never on Blu-ray, right? Because they mastered everything for television, and I reckon they destroyed the actual film masters.
Oh, probably. I'm quite happy with my 7 DVD sets.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's probably like DVD might be the best they could do with it.
Mm.
So, do we really need that show that bad, though, right?
No, we don't need that show that badly. I have a bootleg, and it probably looks just as good as anything they could put out probably right now.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Peele's supposed to be doing another movie probably. Jordan Peele's supposed to be doing another movie in next summer, or sorry, summer after next. No one knows what the movie is. Just supposed to be doing another movie for Universal. I don't think I've got anything else unless anybody else does. I mean, I think we talked last time about the whole thing with they were getting ready to do a steelbook with soundtrack. Shout Factory was for, I think, Prince of Darkness. I briefly discussed it here, and we pointed out for the second straight time their version of it features a vinyl that has a better version on Mondo's website or something like that. Like, yeah, it's look right now.
Mondo, if I don't remember who it is. I don't remember what the site is though.
Someone basically, Waxworks, something like that. Look, we're all in holding pattern until Black Friday right now, and we discussed on the show last time, but Chuck can chime in here. I'm not super dying for anything Severin's really doing apart from Cruel Jaws, and that won't even be on sale. You know, I want stuff from Vinegar Syndrome. You know, I definitely want that. But apart from that, I mean, Halloween was the big thing this year. Black Friday, we shouldn't even be doing Black Friday, but yet we're doing Black Friday. So
I mean, there's no in-store Black Fridays, right?
Oh, okay. Let's do a bit of non-movie news. So GameStop decided that the best possible way to give out extra labor for Black Friday time and holiday was to have a TikTok contest, and to basically make it so that the employees would make TikToks, and if you won, you got 10 extra hours of labor. I've been told by a source within GameStop that, at least the last I heard, they don't even know if they're doing a Black Friday yet or not right now, which is batshit.
Well,
and tells you
that's the world we live in right now.
And they are so asleep at the wheel, basically, right now at GameStop. And GameStop is asleep at the wheel right now because they're desperate to basically make as much money as they possibly can off the PS5 and Xbox One Series X. And so they don't give a rat's ass about anything else, because they're going to make all their money off of that and ride it the rest of the way.
Well, I ain't excited about nothing. There ain't none of these movies coming out that I'm excited about. I mean, it's basically, so I've never heard of, or stuff I've got 15 times over. So, like the thing everything you've mentioned so far, the one thing that I kind of want is the Old Boy 4K. I don't know what that was, by the way.
What the heck was that?
Somebody sent me something and automatically started playing on my phone.
Live, everybody. Old Boy 4K Arrow.
Yeah.
And for the record, Arrow, you mentioned you're interested in it. Okay, yeah, that's out in January.
Okay.
I'll wait for a box set.
You want all three movies? You want the whole Vengeance trilogy in 4K?
You feel like they're going to do one? You feel like they're going to do one? They might.
I think they would have done it first. They would have done it first.
I mean, it would.
No, because they got a double dip.
Pattern. No. They follow their pattern.
You get Old Boy first, then you get the other two, and then you get the box set.
That's the old way doing things.
That's the Scream Factory way of doing things. That's the thing.
That's the way Old Boys always come out, though.
I mean, you're not wrong. They are kind of messing around. That's the one thing I will say that's interesting about Arrow right now, is they are starting to kind of toe on to like some of those out of print tartan and stuff. So your Old Boy, your Versus was announced last month.
That's another one I'd like to get my hands on.
So if they're going to keep going in that direction, I mean, I am all for that, honestly.
Well, let's just go the whole 9 yards. Let's get, all those splatter Asian movies out there. Let's get Hell Driver on 4K.
Hell yes.
I don't know how it would look at 4K, but,
Media Blasters is getting ready to do a Blu-ray, like a Ultimate Edition Blu-ray of Tokyo Gore Police, and Media Blasters fucking sucks at Blu-rays, and I don't care. I just want that.
Yeah. We'll get Frankenstein.
It was a fun movie.
Whatever.
Vampire Girl, Frankenstein Girl.
All those old ones. I've got most of those.
I do
too.
I still need
Old Boy.
I need, what was it? Robo Geisha. But anyway.
I don't have that one either. I don't think.
I don't either.
But Well Go USA put out a bunch of those on Blu-ray. That was nice. All those splatter.
Oh yeah, it's things. Just.
I missed that Well Go USA. I missed that one. The one that gives us that stuff.
Well, they cut a deal with Sushi Typhoon. That was why. So they had the rights to Yakuza Weapon, and they had the rights to Hell Driver, and they had the rights to Vampire Girl. Well, Funimation did that one. But before that, though, like the people who started it was that Media Blasters decided they wanted to make Machine Girl, and so that was like their production, and they. Like, if you went to the old store they used to have in New Jersey, they had, like, a display case on the right when you walked in that had, like, screen-used gore from Tokyo Gore Police and stuff in it. Because they put out Machine Girl, they put out Tokyo Gore Police and stuff. One of the first times I went there was they had Frank Henenlotter there doing a signing because they also funded Bad Biology. And so he was signing, I like it.
I need Bad Biology. I don't have that one.
I think it's worthwhile. Bad shit. It's worthwhile.
Oh, that's what's good about it. But
definitely bad shit.
you're talking about Old Boy, you'll get a box set of Old Boy, but it'd be like Old Boy and the remake of Old Boy. And then that other movie that ripped off, there was another movie that ripped off Old Boy and got sued for it. It was basically Old Boy, but it was a different name. Because back in the old days, people thought you could pull a Tarantino and get away with it.
You can only do that if your name's Tarantino.
I know, right? I just like the fact that that's actually become a term now, because I've reached a point with Tarantino, and that's all I'm going to say.
Well, I just want you. I revisited Hateful Eight the other day, and I still think it may be his second or third best movie he's done. I just want you to know.
It's amazing.
I love it. I love Hateful Eight.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is my second favorite Tarantino film.
Well, I like almost all of them. I think my least favorite is probably Jackie Brown or Inglourious Bastards.
My favorite's probably Kill Bill.
A lot of people around here where I'm at,
Django
they don't
Unchained
appreciate
is really good.
Yeah.
Django Unchained is one of my bigger ones too.
Kill Bill might be my least favorite.
Well, see that
Volume 1 is probably my favorite.
I got to throw him in the category. I got a lot of friends that don't appreciate Kill Bill. They don't appreciate the samurai / Western aspects of it.
You ever watch the uncut version?
Never. I've only got
really
2 Blu-rays of it.
It's really weird. I got a bootleg of it from a convention, and
together. It's all together.
Well, no, what it is so the uncut version basically is the version he put out, I think, in Japan or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, the fight that goes through, like, the Lotus House, it's just, like, longer and longer and bloodier. And the part where it goes black and white in the American one, it doesn't. It just stays color, basically. And so it's just more and more. And I'll be honest, the regular version's better, because the other one, it's just, like, relentless. And it's kind of weird like that.
There was a set of both films that came out, I believe, from Japan, and they were pretty cool. I never was able to get a copy of either, but
they refused to release it in America. I don't know why. The uncut one, I mean. I'm not saying it's super worthwhile, but
he never does really any special releases or anything. You know, I'm convinced at this point the whole Bloody Affair is never coming out ever.
Oh, I agree.
We've been waiting, 20 years for that now, at least?
Every so often he pops up and goes, "Oh yeah, I'm making the third one." Yeah, no, you're not.
He's doing everything. He's making a Halloween movie. He's making a Friday the 13th movie. He's doing all this stuff he never does. I was happy to see him make something that wasn't a Western. I like his Westerns, but I was happy to see something that wasn't a Western finally. I know everything that he's done is supposed to finally be making its way to 4K eventually. That's probably our last chance getting an uncut Kill Bill Volume 1, probably. But I don't know. Like, I love Tarantino. That's my favorite director. I get excited about all of his stuff that comes out. I read all of his scripts and stuff that wasn't produced, or at least like his first movie that he made that only shot half of, that My Best Friend's Birthday or whatever it is. I'm a big fan. I read the original script for Natural Born Killers and all that stuff. Like, I'm a big fan of his. But I wish there was another director that got me as excited about their stuff as that. Because whenever Tarantino does quit making movies, then what have I got then?
I used to be that way. Del Toro does that for me now. Jordan Peele a little bit too.
I've been wanting to watch. What the hell's the movie? God damn it! It was just in my head while you were talking, Chuck. True Romance. I've been wanting to watch that again recently. I'd like for them to put that on 4K.
It's interesting I figured it would come out the special edition came out by Screen Factory or Shout Factory, because I know that the company they bought a bunch of stuff from was the one that produced that movie originally. So I thought maybe they had, maybe they don't. But it's definitely, you can sense the Tarantino in it. But it's just done at a faster pace where Tarantino seems to let stuff kind of, sink in a little bit more. Apparently there's a fan version on the internet where they actually cut it the way the script was, where everything's out of order. I like to see that.
You remember how long it took Pulp Fiction to come to Blu-ray, right?
Oh,
like if I recall correctly, it took like Lionsgate or Anchor Bay having like a fire sale basically, and if I recall correctly, I think Miramax got it or something like that.
And it was like when it came out, it was only $10.
Yeah, and that's so weird, basically, to think about.
Versions of it though, there's the flip one, like little box one, and the regular one, all that. But now, what do we have to do to get a Killin' Zoe Blu-ray? Or Killin' Zoe, or whatever you want to pronounce it. The Avery film, that Tarantino produced. Have you seen that?
heard of it vaguely, but I don't know much about it.
I always thought Killing Zoe, but I think maybe it's pronounced Killing Zoe. But it's great. I mean, it's a bank heist one. It's got, it was Eric Schultz is the lead in it. He goes to, I think, Paris or France or somewhere like that with his old childhood friend to rob a bank, kind of like having a thing with one of the people that work at the bank. It feels like, I mean, it's it's good. Which his first two movies are great, like The Rules of Attraction and that were great. Everything after that, not so much. Which he did help write Pulp Fiction. Nobody gives him credit for that, but he did help do it. And there's a debate on how much of it he actually did write. So,
Pulp Fiction is still my favorite Tarantino film.
For sure.
And with that, I don't think we have much more news, and I think
we rambled on enough.
I think we're good.
About an hour and a half here.
Soul dead.
So, thanks for sticking around, and I think it was like 2 weeks no show, so we're back.
That's why it's a little longer.
Sure. That's because
we'll go with that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We'll go with that. But thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. We'll get the RSS feed working here soon, hopefully. And yeah, on to the next one. See ya.